unexpected joy of it, as I said, was the bonding that happened with my son, because, you know, at this time in their lives where, you know, their friends are pulling them, like I was embedded deeply in there. Like he had to do this test. He didn't really have a choice, and it was going to be time consuming. And so the result was we had to spend a lot of time together, and we turned it into a lot of fun. He's actually really good at math. I don't know where he gets that from, but he loved to teach me the math, and he would correct my math walls for me. He would write me apology notes with the vocabulary words, which of course warmed my SAT heart. He would write SAT questions out of like our little everyday life issues. And I would secretly put up little signs to kind of subliminally motivate him about the scores that I would dream that he got. I would say this is one of the other things I learned along the way, that the goal had to be his, and there was nothing in the world that I could do to make my goal his goal. I had to accept his goal. And you know, it's not like he picked a terrible goal. He achieved his goal, he even got a little bit higher than his goal. He was fine with that. He didn't want to work harder than that, and I couldn't make him. I always say the college tour was the wake-up call. And I didn't do it maybe soon enough. We did it junior year, 2 college tours. So he would look at the school, and we'd go to the city, and he'd look out and he'd go, "Is this my city?" And we'd take the tour, and he'd get really excited, and then he'd go back to the room and he'd look at Naviance, and like, that's him. See the little, I get to use this little thing. That's him right there, Naviance, that shows his chances. It's like, maybe, but maybe not. But by the way, he did get into his first college tonight, so he's gonna go somewhere. Anyway, to make a long story short, he started studying as soon as we got back from the college tour. I would say that you need to ask yourself 3 questions when you're deciding which way to go. The first question would be, you know, what is your goal? The second question is, where are you now? And the third question is, how much are you willing to put in to get there? So what is the SAT testing? And you know, I've heard a lot of people say to be good at the SAT is, you know, just to be good at the test. I don't think so. I think it's testing critical thinking, but it's not that you can go into a critical thinking class. What the SAT is doing is taking the things that you learn in school, that you learn solidly, and making you move and groove. They're showing it to you in different ways. If you want to start early, one way to go is Kumon. I did have a really positive experience there. It's old-fashioned. It's from 1954 in Japan, worksheets, and it's after school, and I say it's like the caulking. So if you have like a bad math teacher one year, or you're sick one year, I mean, and my son had all these things. He missed almost 2 years of math. So that was my son. He slept through a whole year. I say it was like Rip Van Winkle. That was the year he had mono, the worst case of mono. And it's not test prep, but if you do that, you will do well on the SAT. That's my son who balked at the idea, and you know, my kids thought it was like remedial and for little kids, because it is actually filled with little kids when you go there. But lo and behold, you know, summer going into senior year, when he had to take calculus and he was nervous because he'd had a couple bad math teachers and sick, he was like, you know what, let me check out that Kumon thing, and he's doing really well in calculus now. And he does say it's because he actually has continued to do the Kumon. So it's like 20 minutes in the morning a day. That's all he does. And I would say it's nice to have a long runway, you know, better to have a long runway. They say learning happens better if you do it in a spaced way. So if you have 2 hours, it's better to do 30 minutes at a time than to do it all at once. Cramming really doesn't work.